Oh, look, when the shit's not going well for you, yeah, look what happens, mate. People start to change. What did Pep Guardiola say? There are no friends nor enemies, only interests. Gary Neville, mate. You know what I mean? It was all right when Man United were winning everything, wasn't it? You know what I mean? But how you change your tune. Listen to this, guys, man. Absolute weapon.
A couple of things here. I think it's the most bizarre transfer window. And I think PSR now is starting to be applied by the Premier League. And that's why we're seeing a lot of clubs, including Manchester United, having to sort of, if you like, navigate around selling players that maybe they wouldn't want to. PSR was never designed so that players had to sell the best academy players. And that's what we're seeing. So it's something needs to change dramatically in this next 12 months in terms of the rules.
It was never designed, yeah, for clubs to sell the best academy players. You know why this happens? It's because when people rush rules through that they don't properly understand the consequences of, yeah, bad shit starts to happen. Like clubs are incentivized to sell academy players. Now, I've said this for quite a long time, and I'm 100% correct on this. The FFP rules, when they were brought in, let's all be honest with ourselves, were brought in to stop Manchester City. That's what they were brought in for. Yeah, let's just get it right. Is there any surprise to you that Manchester City went out and spent hundreds of millions of pounds on a state-of-the-art academy, one of the best academies, if not the best academy in world football? Is it because when they saw the rules were coming to attack them, yeah, they sat down and looked at how do we get around this? And they saw that selling academy players would be straight profit and that would be beneficial for the books. You see, when you bring in rules that you don't fully understand because you bring them in because you're desperate to prevent someone or something from progressing or expanding, yeah, it all goes to shit. And now he's talking absolute nonsense.
Also, Newcastle, I think they should be able to invest in the squad, and they should, again, PSR needs changes so that there is owner investment allowed so that Newcastle can get to the level of Manchester City and other clubs. We can't.
So where was this energy when Manchester City were bought then? Where was this energy? Where was this energy? I'll tell you where the energy was. The energy was different back then, guys, because it was Man United at the top of the table. Back then, when the rules were first implemented, FFP was about protecting clubs. Oh, we've got to make sure it's fair. We've got to make sure that the clubs are okay. Yeah, which was absolute BS. It was exactly the same then as exactly it was now. The only difference is no one cared about it because everyone was a sheep back then and just went, oh, we got to stop Man City, Man City. Now it's starting to affect other teams in the league. Everybody's starting to wake up a decade later, yeah, to see actually what this is. It would have been nice if other fans around the country would have realised this at the time, but it didn't affect them. And they just listened to people like Neville and they just went with it. Yeah. It's nice that people are starting to wake up, albeit a decade later. But nothing has changed. The only thing that has changed now is the narrative is quite clear. Everybody now fully understands, because you can't gaslight people anymore, that this is about keeping the teams at the top of the table. But here's where it all went wrong. Man United and Liverpool and Arsenal, to a certain degree, have lost control of the Premier League. They don't have the authority that they once held because of Manchester City, because of Aston Villa, because of Newcastle and other clubs as well. They don't have the authority. And now they can't spend the money. Man United breached FFP with UEFA. Man United now struggling to buy players. You're hearing it with Arsenal as well. Whether that's true or not, it's up to you. But the truth is now starting to come out after over a decade of these rules being in place. Over a decade of Manchester City fans and Manchester City saying these rules are BS. People are starting to wake up. And now people are starting to wake up. You know, these associates to Manchester United, i.e. Gary Neville, because he needs Man United to be able to invest in players, are starting to change their tune.
You can't just keep a thumb on clubs' heads and say you're not going to invest. Now, what we have to do is do it with security and sustainability in mind. That means the owner funding might have to go in up front, but we can't keep Newcastle's back, and we're holding them back at this moment in time.
Oh, that's kind of mad again, isn't it? You know what I mean? It was almost like they were trying to put a thumb on Manchester City back in 2008, 2010, 2012, during these periods. It was almost as if that's what they were trying to do. UEFA as well. But the thing is, City become a top club and got the revenues. And whether you think the revenues are legit, it's irrelevant at this point because they're there. Yeah, they are there at the top. They've got the academy. We've got the lowest net spend of any team in the Premier League over the last 5 years. Why? Because we flog all the academy players. City understood what the rules were because the rules were designed for Manchester City. So while everybody else in the league was told, don't worry, the rules are not about you. It's about stopping Manchester City. No one else looked into it. No one else cared. But because the rules impacted Manchester City the most, City had to look at the rules and say, right, how do we get around this? Similarly, Chelsea, they looked at the rules and went, how do we get around this? I tell you what we can do. We can sell a couple of hotels. I tell you what we can do. We can sell the women's team. Yeah, because they have to look. At the end of the day, if there's a set of rules in place, people are going to look at the rules to see how they can get around the rules. City's was to build an incredible academy where they can get the best talent, develop them into some of the best young players in Europe and sell them for 20 million, 30 million each time without some of them even playing a game. And that's straight profit. But here's the thing now that Man United are shit and they need to invest in their team massively, yeah, we're starting to see this difference. Maybe he thinks that City are literally just going to win this league forever and the only team realistically that can stop them is Newcastle, which is fair enough because Newcastle have the finances and the Saudis actually want to win. I assume they want to win. I assume they're not like some of the other clubs that don't want to win. Yeah, i.e. Liverpool when they don't buy anyone, or Arsenal when they spend 25 million net spend. So, you look at it and I just go, again, Pep Guardiola in that interview when he said there are no friends or enemies, only interests. He's absolutely spot on. Yeah, he's absolutely spot on. You really have to open your eyes. And, City fans watching this, you guys will know, you know what I mean? But if you're a rival fan or a fan of another club, you've got to look at it with your eyes open and try and, cut out the noise, because what you get told by these pundits, what you get told by these experts is a one-sided view. A one-sided view of what they want to push onto you. It's PR in its finest form. And then when the narrative must change because City have got to the top and we potentially might win 5 league titles in a row, they then have to admit, accept, and change the PR narrative. And now it's let clubs spend. It'll be interesting to see what he'd want for City there, because we're already at the top. So if you open up the taps for Newcastle to spend money, you have to open up the taps for Manchester City to spend money. I wonder if there was something that he says in the coming weeks or months that could change that, where City are still under lock and key. Guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I find this whole FFP stories very interesting because I think the whole thing is a load of BS. I've said my piece in the past. I think there should be an escrow account. Every club has to put 1 year's worth of expenses into the account, and if the owner F's off, the club can run successfully for a year while they find a new owner. I think that's fair. You want to spend 500 million, spend 500 million, but the wages and fees that you've got to pay have got to be in the account. You know what I mean? That's the way I see it. Let me know your thoughts and comments.